There's a lot of things in League of Legends that shouldn't exist, and I already know what you're thinking. Corki buying boots, increasing the movement speed of his plane. Mel, Yumi, whatever 200 years champion just 1v9'd your last game. Look, today, we're not talking about champions, because some of the most frustrating things in all of League are the mechanics that have been in the game for years, the systems you probably didn't even know existed, but lose you games constantly, the interactions so cursed you can't help but wonder what Riot was even thinking when they made them, and the hidden mechanics that for some reason punish you for winning. And it's actually that last one that I want to talk about first here. You win your lane, your whole team's ahead, the game should be over, but somehow it's just impossible to end. Everybody keeps getting caught in the side lanes. Then a few minutes pass, and despite stomping, you're somehow now down in farm and in levels. Sound familiar? Well, as it turns out, this is one of the game's hidden mechanics that's working against you. As if your team is stronger and your team has a level lead over your opponents, your minions actually get stronger with you, which then causes them to always push towards your opponent even when they're the ones with the bigger wave. Now, what this means is that the losing team can just freely and safely collect waves literally the entire game, while the winning team constantly has to aggressively push out side lanes and try not to get caught. And if you're ever team fighting or contesting an objective, once that play ends, the losing team is going to typically have waves to return to and farm after. Now, the craziest thing about this mechanic is that Riot added this way back in the day as a way to help the winning team close out games. And it all makes sense. Stronger minions means you get to push more aggressively, take more towers, siege easier. Look, ironically, it achieved the complete opposite of this, and it's now one of the dumbest and strongest comeback mechanics in the entire game. And this clip we pulled from the retired pro Dyrus is the perfect example of why it shouldn't exist. Dyrus and Jax both die at the exact same time. Both waves are left completely neutral, but pay attention to the blue minions here. Despite him and Jax being even in levels and even in gold in the top lane, you can't see it, but Yumi and Nilah, due to Nilah's passive XP buff, are a level up over the enemy bot lane, and so is Ambessa in the jungle. Meaning, as the game thinks that blue team is winning, their minions, thanks to this buff, end up getting stronger, they do more damage, and obliterate the whole red team's wave. So, again, despite it being completely even in gold and in levels in the top lane, Dyrus returns to 0 minions, while Jax gets an entire wave and can even look to set up a freeze if he wants and deny even more, making top lane essentially over 4 minutes into the game. It's one of those mechanics you never even think about, but now that you know about it, I can promise you are going to be shocked at how much farm you notice yourself and your team losing in your games because of it. And a quick tip here, you can actually see this effect in-game by targeting one of your own minions and looking at this number right here. The more towers you take and the higher your team's average level, the more damage your minions end up doing. And in terms of playing around all of this, in the early game, like in that Dyrus clip, well, there's honestly not a whole lot you can do about it. But in the mid and late game, if you're the winning team, you should always try to avoid overgrouping and aim to always aggressively push out side lanes as much as possible, just to avoid losing too much farm. Whereas if you're on the losing side, you can definitely afford to group a lot more, because even if you leave a pushing wave, it really doesn't matter all that much, as it's going to eventually push back to you anyway, so you can afford to ARAM for just a bit before heading back to your lane. So, what do you guys think? Should this exist, or is it just an outdated mechanic that should be removed? And look, if you often wonder why games can feel so incredibly random, it's usually because you're missing hidden mechanics that are just like this one, which is exactly why we built our mechanics course, where we expose even more of these hidden mechanics that can completely change the way you see and play the game. We're talking about the simple tricks that almost nobody in low elo even realizes exist, but once you do, they feel like absolute cheat codes for climbing. And this is just the start of it, because with SkillCapped's brand new Season 16 Essentials for every role, we walk you through what actually matters for climbing at every stage of the game from start to finish. From learning the exact trading and recall timers you need to win in lane, to the mid-game macro mistakes that 99% of players make, all the way to the team fighting tips and tricks challengers abuse to always deal the highest damage possible, which, when combined alongside our world-class courses on topics like wave control, macro, and vision, gives you the exact path that you need to climb this season. And we're so confident in that we backed it all up for over a decade now. And if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively actively using SkillCapped, you get every penny back, no questions asked. So click the link in the description below to gain access to a special one-time discount and get the rank that you've always wanted this season. But now it's time to make you feel a little bit old, okay? Who here remembers back when ranked had practically zero role selection? You queue up, and the lane you played was often determined by your typing speed or the RNG of picking earlier in the draft. And if you were last pick, well, unlucky, guess you're stuck playing support this game. Unless, of course, you were a Champ Select terrorist and you threw out the mid or feed. Man, those were wild times. Champ Select has thankfully come a very, very, very long way since then. And there's obviously a role queue now. Everybody gets bans. You can hover your champion. You could swap pick order. And there's even been big improvements these last few years to make dodging and hostaging in Champ Select far less frequent. That said, though, we've had all of these improvements, yet we're still missing what truthfully feels like a requirement in modern-day League. That being, seeing what champion you're laning against once the draft is complete and locked in. And the more you think about this, the more you kind of scratch your head and you think about why it isn't a feature yet. First, it's something that's already enforced in pro play. Everybody has to be in order from top lane to support, meaning once the draft is locked in, they swap and always know which champions are going to which lane. Second of all, while in the past, you could usually make an educated guess, right? Over the last few seasons have taken big strides toward making more and more champions able to flex across multiple roles. We're seeing more and more mid laners and mages in the bot lane, ranged champions in the top lane, to everybody's disgust. And I don't think there's a patch that goes by where it doesn't feel like Riot spins a wheel and just makes whoever it lands on viable in the jungle. I mean, just look at this draft here and try and guess who's going where. Yep, that's Varus top, Zyra jungle, Riven mid, and Syndra and Gragas bot lane. The point is, it's impossible to tell. Now, to be fair, you could argue that the guessing game is just all part of draft, and sure, it is and still will be. Counterpicking is obviously very important, as are flex picks, both for our games and pro games alike. But counterpicking is completely unaffected. Revealing what lane each champion is going just before the game starts does one thing. It allows players to actually pick their runes and summoners. To avoid situations like selecting a melee top laner, locking in Grasp and Exhaust, thinking you're against Riven or Gragas, only to see it's actually Varus. Not only are you now countered and in an impossible matchup, you've also got useless runes and summoners on top of that. Hopefully, this is one of the next improvements that we see coming soon for Champion Select. But let's be honest, not every single improvement Riot makes to the game actually ends up being a positive one. And one of the newest features might have caused a little bit more problems with ranked than first intended. That being Aegis of Valor. In theory, it sounds like a great idea. You get auto-filled into a role you didn't ask for, and if you perform decently and score a mastery of B or above, you lose 0 LP and double LP if you win. There's even the added inclusion of lower play rate roles like support and jungle getting Aegis of Valor at the same cadence as other roles just to make it fair across the board. Only, there's a ton of issues with this. First, it's not even close to being the same cadence. Queuing a priority role like support and jungle, you can play hundreds of games and only ever see it a handful of times, with multiple players on Reddit even saying they play 250 games without seeing it even one single time, which may or may not be true, but the one thing that is certain, it's nowhere even remotely near the cadence of mid lane and ADC. And one quick look at the leaderboards all but confirms all of this, with ADC and mid laners, the two roles that get Aegis the most, accounting for nearly 60% of all players in the highest ranks. This is, of course, something that gets more and more impactful and happens more frequently the higher elo that you climb. But should it really be objectively easier to climb just because you main a popular role? I personally don't think so. The second issue, though, with Aegis is one that literally everybody could see coming from a mile away. You get auto-filled, you know Aegis is in effect, so you play around it. How many times in your games have you seen somebody type, "I don't care, I'm filled, I don't lose LP anyway"? And at the first sign of the game going badly, it's not uncommon for players to just stop playing to win. They're not technically griefing you, they're doing the quote-unquote smart thing, as because there's a high chance the game ends in a loss, it just doesn't make sense to go for any low percentage risky plays to try and turn the game around at the risk of you dying. And it just turns into doing everything you possibly can to get that B, which means protecting your KDA and just AFK farming. Or even dropping useless extra wards and pinks with the sole purpose being to improve your vision score. But truth be told, can you even blame players for playing around this? Now look though, say what you want about Aegis, at least it has some upsides, right? The next one one, though, it solves nothing. It helps nobody. And the only thing it has ever done is completely grief you. League is a top-down game. This means it has a Y and X axis. X is left and right, and Y is up and down. The easiest way to imagine this and follow me here is if Summoner's Rift was a piece of paper. Our champions would just be circles glued to this paper that you can slide around. However, there's actually a fake Z-axis in League. Now, the Z-axis mainly exists to give the game more visual depth and that 3D feeling that you feel in the game, and for visual of knockups to exist too. For example, if you use your Q on Alistair, although it may look like they're up in the air, as far as the game is concerned, they're still in the exact same spot, which is fine, and most people hopefully know that by now. But where this truly becomes a problem is around certain areas of terrain. The best example we could pull up for this is between river and the jungle. Although it looks like you're going from high to low ground and moving up a ramp, that's not actually the case, as whenever a champion is elevated on Summoner's Rift, it's actually a visual trick, as remember, there's no real Z-axis, so a champion can't be elevated. For example, Needly lands her spear even though her cursor isn't even on the Lux, and somehow, this one, directly aimed at her, mind you, misses. This is why you're often going to see some of the craziest hooks or abilities land that were nowhere near you in the slightest, or vice versa. You're going to aim directly at a champion, and somehow, you're going to completely miss them. So if you're aiming a skill shot from river to high ground, you have to compensate by technically missing your ability and aiming it below your target. And the opposite is also true. If you're the one on high ground trying to hit somebody in the river, you have to aim above them to account for this. Without a doubt, though, the craziest case of this that we have ever seen is on Rise, where you can completely break his ultimate. As if you place it exactly in this spot right here on the stairs to the fountain and you go through, you get transported straight to SkillCapped.com, where you can check out our brand new Season 16 Essentials for every role. Each course is designed to walk you through every stage of the game from start to finish, tackling the most important concepts that your role needs in order to climb. From the must-know laning secrets challengers use to smurf win their lane every game, to the mid-game macro mistakes 99% of players make, all the way to the team fighting tips and tricks top players abuse to always deal the highest damage possible in their games. And that's only the start. There's even our brand new Season 16 macro and wave control courses with perfect 5-star reviews that one customer even said made his entire yearly subscription completely worthwhile. We also have weekly challenger commentaries where our experts walk you through exactly how to carry in your elo on your chosen champion, or even our world record jungle clears for every meta champion with the exact routes, the exact tips, and the exact tricks our subscribers are abusing to clear faster than ever before. And we're so confident this all works that we back it all up with our rank up guarantee. Climb at least 5 divisions or get every penny back. Check it all out today using your exclusive discount in the description or pinned comment below. So what do you think shouldn't exist in League of Legends? Let us know in the comments. For now though, this one was a little bit different to our usual content, so we hope you all enjoyed it. We spent a lot of time on it. And if you want to see a part 2, let us know down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.